Welcome back to CIA Declassified. We've seen the agency infiltrate student unions and MH chaos, but the agency's curiosity didn't stop at the dormitory door. It went straight into the blue metal mailboxes on every street corner. For 20 years, the privacy of the U.S. mail was a myth. And I think it's fair to assume that the privacy of your encrypted emails is also a myth. But behind a locked door in a New York sorting facility, elite agency technicians were performing envelope surgery on millions of pieces of correspondence prior to email being the number one way of sending a message. They were looking for spies, but they found the intimate lives of ordinary Americans. This was Project HTLINGUAL. When the government decides that a postage stamp is a waiver of your Fourth Amendment rights, the mailbox becomes a trap. Project HTLINGUAL ran from 1952 to 1973. Primarily out of a secret room at the LaGuardia Airport and the New York Main Post Office. A quote from the 1975 Church Committee report: during the 20-year life of the program, over 215,000 letters were opened and photographed by the Central Intelligence Agency in New York City alone. End quote. The agency used specialized steam tables and long, thin knitting needle-like tools to roll up a letter inside its envelope without breaking the seal. The declassified archives reveal that the agency had a Langley analysis lab where chemicals were used to detect invisible ink or hidden microdots on the stationery of suspected subversives. A quote from James Angleton, Chief of Counterintelligence: "It was a vacuum cleaner. We didn't know what we were looking for until we found it. You cannot find a needle in a haystack if you don't look at every piece of straw." End quote. The declassified logs show that the agency opened the mail of John Steinbeck, Leonard Bernstein, and even Martin Luther King Jr. Technological breakthroughs included the aerosol resealer, a chemical compound that mimicked the exact aging process of envelope glue, so the recipient wouldn't notice the seal had been tampered with. A quote from a declassified 1961 postal inspector memo: "These CIA personnel are highly skilled. They can open, photograph, and reseal a standard envelope in less than 2 minutes." End quote. The declassified files document Project Western, a sub-operation that specifically targeted mail coming from the Soviet Union to find the families of deep-cover illegal spies. Agency technicians developed a fiber matcher, a high-powered microscope used to ensure that the paper grain of the envelope was not disturbed during the surgery. The declassified records confirm that the agency maintained a watch list of over 600,000 names, and any mail to or from these individuals was flagged for automatic interception. Technicians were trained to use cold opening techniques, utilizing dry ice to make adhesives brittle enough to pop open without leaving moisture stains. The declassified release highlights the language hub, where intercepted Russian and Chinese letters were sent to a basement in Virginia for immediate translation. The agency collaborated with the FBI under the codename Hunter, providing domestic intelligence derived from foreign mail. A quote from a 1967 Internal Security Review: HTLINGUAL provides a unique window into the intentions of our adversaries that no satellite or bug can match. End quote. The declassified archives show that the agency used phantom postmarks to hide the fact that a letter had been delayed in New York for 3 days of analysis. Agency officers posed as mail sorters and were given official post office credentials to walk into the floor and pull bags of mail at will. The declassified release confirms the use of X-ray fluoroscopy to read the contents of letters without even opening them. That's FLUROSCOPY. Provided the ink had a high enough metallic content. By 1970, the program was processing over 4 million envelopes a year, scanning the outside for handwriting signatures identified by early computer algorithms. The declassified logs reveal that HTLINGUAL intercepted a letter from a Soviet defector that prevented a major security breach at the Los Alamos laboratory. The agency created a synthetic saliva to re-moisten the stamps they removed to check for microdots hidden underneath. The declassified release documents Operation Slip, where agents planted tracking dust in letters to see which houses in Moscow the mail eventually reached. A quote from Postmaster General J. Edward Day. "I was told it was for national security. I didn't realize they were reading the love letters of college students." End quote. The declassified archives show the agency developed a heat shield for mail bags to prevent infrared sensors from seeing that the mail was being steamed. The program was so sensitive that when it was shut down, the agency burned over 100,000 pounds of paper records in a single week to hide the names on the watch list. The New York facility maintained a wall of seals, a massive collection of duplicate stamps and wax seals for every country on Earth to ensure replacements were indistinguishable from the originals. The declassified logs show that the agency specifically targeted diplomatic bags that were temporarily stored in civilian postal hubs, violating international treaties on diplomatic immunity. A quote from a 1959 training manual. "The technician must possess the steady hand of a jeweler and the patience of a monk. A single microscopic tear in the paper grain is a failure of the highest order." End quote. In 1964, HTLINGUAL successfully uncovered a clandestine funding route for the Cuban intelligence service by tracking the sequential serial numbers on money orders sent through the U.S. mail. The declassified archives revealed that the agency used chemical sniffers developed in Langley to identify specific perfumes or tobacco smells associated with targeted foreign intelligence officers. But even with all of these declassifications, the file on replacement protocol is completely redacted. What was the agency doing to the letters besides reading them? Get ready for the theory of the ghost ink. Speculation suggests the agency didn't just read the letters, they replaced the contents. The rumor is that the redacted replacement scripts were part of a psychological warfare campaign. The agency would rewrite a letter from a Soviet mother to her son in America, slipping in mind control commands or subtle triggers designed to make the recipient lose their mind or change their political stance. What if the mail was marked? A dark rumor suggests the agency added contact toxins to the glue of the envelopes. This theory, known as lethal licking, suggests the redactions hide logs where specific targets were neutralized simply by licking a stamp or an envelope that had been treated with a slow-acting poison at the New York facility. Did they control the lottery? Some believe the redactions hide Project Jackpot, where the agency intercepted mail-in sweepstakes to ensure their informants won large cash prizes, and the black bars hide the winner selection logs. The vibrating paper theory posits that the redactions hide the use of piezoelectric, I think I'm saying that right, Piezoelectric. So I'm going with piezoelectric crystals embedded in the paper that could record conversations in the room where the letter was kept, with the black ink masking the audio harvest files. Is the ink alive? Gossip suggests the redacted pages detail Project Biotype, where the ink was made of a bioengineered bacteria that could eat other information on the desk, and the black ink hides the data consumption reports. The mail order clone theory suggests the redactions hide a program where the agency collected DNA from the saliva on envelopes to create a library of genetic profiles, with the black bars masking the genome index. Was the letter a portal? Some believe the redactions describe Operation Fold, where paper was folded in a specific geometric pattern to act as a beacon for high-altitude spy planes, and the black ink covers the spatial anchor formulas. The time travel telegram theory claims the redactions prove the agency used HTLINGUAL to find letters from the future, and the black bars hide the chronological intercepts. Is the stamp a speaker? Gossip suggests the redactions hide Project Whisper, where the stamps emitted an ultrasonic frequency that made people in the house feel a sense of impending doom, and the black ink mask the paranoia statistics. Some whisper that the redactions hide the fact that the agency has a modern version of HTLINGUAL that scans every email before it reaches your inbox. And the black ink is all that prevents a total collapse of the digital economy. This is one that I actually do believe. Next, there is a wild theory that the blacked out saliva samples weren't for DNA but for ancestral tracking, where the agency used the enzymes in the spit to figure out if the sender was a descendant of a specific historical figure they wanted to recruit or eliminate. Rumors in the data leak suggest that phantom postmarks were actually a timestamp for an alternate reality, and the black bars hide the proof that some of the mail was coming from a version of America that won the Cold War early. The paper parasite theory suggests the redactions hide a plan where the agency released microscopic tracking nanobots into the mailbags that would cling to the hands of anyone who touched the letters, with the black bars masking the infection rates. Did they use holographic letters? Gossip suggests the redactions hide Project Mirror, where the agency used lasers to project 3D images into the room of the mail recipients to trick them into seeing ghosts, and the black ink mask the haunting result. Lastly, the weightless word rumor claims the redactions prove the agency used HTLINGUAL to smuggle small amounts of antimatter inside envelopes to build a secret weapon in New York, and the black ink hides the explosive yield charts. Was Project HTLINGUAL a success? Tactically, it was a gold mine. The agency identified dozens of Soviet intelligence couriers and mapped out the entire communication network of the American Communist Party. They found information that no other surveillance method could provide. Strategically, it was a disaster. When the program was exposed by the Church Committee, it became the poster child for government overreach. It led directly to the FISA courts and the requirement for warrants for domestic surveillance. The agency traded the long-term trust of the public for 20 years of reading other people's mail. Now, if you're like me, you assume that they read your email. I think that's a fair assumption to make. Now, anyway, as far as technological and operational breakthroughs go, HTLINGUAL revolutionized the art of the technical entry, such as envelope surgery, mastering the physical manipulation of sealed documents without detection. Watch list automation, the early development of large-scale databases to flag specific targets for manual review. Invisible ink detection, creating chemical developers that could reveal secret messages without destroying the paper. And interagency data fusion, learning how to pass sanitized tips from the CIA to the FBI without exposing the source. Project HTLINGUAL shows us that in the pursuit of security, even the most private spaces are never truly safe. As the declassified files reveal, the paper trap was a 20-year habit that the agency found impossible to break until the world forced them to let go. Thanks for listening, and join us next time as we examine Operation Condor. The agency didn't just watch South America. They provided the intelligence backbone for a cross-border campaign of state terror. We'll uncover the secret network of dictators. We'll look at the death flights, the archive of terror, and the moment the agency supported a continent-wide hunt for subversives. Join us next time for the Southern Shadow. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.